Grand Theft Auto made its debut on the original PlayStation back in 1997. But it wouldn't be until the third iteration, Grand Theft Auto 3, that the series truly broke out, becoming the household name it is today. Beyond its controversies, there's a damn good reason these games became so popular, all thanks to the wild amount of freedom and creativity the games employed and still employed to this day. But they need to be ranked, because that's what we do on YouTube, damn it. So, here's Grand Theft Auto games ranked according to me and Eddie McCoo, whose list on GameSpot.com I jacked. Because we're in the same company and we work together. That's called teamwork. Before Rockstar, there was DMA Designs. They made games like Lemmings, Uniracers, Body Harvest, and, of course, Space Station Silicon Valley, which I remember renting from Blockbuster and really enjoying. They also made a little title called Grand Theft Auto, and it was okay. The game received overall mixed reviews, but sold surprisingly well in the UK, becoming a bestseller. And while it honestly doesn't live up to any of the mainstay games after 3, it did at least have inklings of what would make 3 such a huge success, being a criminal in an open world with the ability to steal cars and cause general mayhem. So, here's the thing about Grand Theft Auto 2. It's like Grand Theft Auto 1, but improved. Hey, you can't say that about every sequel. The visuals and camera system were both improved, and GTA 2 added a multiplayer mode that allowed up to 6 people to compete on maps designed specifically for multiplayer. Rockstar's now signature storytelling is absent from GTA 2, as the game is about a budding young criminal who wants nothing more than to commit wanton acts of violence and destruction, which, you know, isn't all that deep, but sometimes simple works just fine. Liberty City Stories has a special place in my heart. I know I'm ranking it fairly low here, but we're talking about GTA games. The bar is very high. You see, the thing about Liberty City Stories is that you could use it to break your PSP and go back to an older version where you could add emulation and homebrew games. In other words, the game about being a criminal and stealing things is the game that had a major bug allowing you to break your entire PSP system. Which I would never ever do, and definitely did not do ever. My PSP was for Final Fantasy Tactics and Half Minute Hero. Outside of that, GTA Liberty City Stories was fine. It wasn't fantastic, but it was impressive at the time for just how much of the GTA 3 experience Rockstar was able to fit on a handheld system. That said, it also felt like a slightly watered down version of GTA 3. So, good, just not as good unless you wanted to break a PSP. 2009's GTA Chinatown Wars represented a departure of sorts for Rockstar, as the Nintendo DS and later PSP game was the first since Vice City Stories designed specifically for portable devices. And with the DS even more specifically, the game made use of the system's touchscreen and second screen to offer a presentation style and setup no previous game could. The game takes place once again in Liberty City, and puts you into the shoes of Huang Li, a Triad gang member. The game also broke from tradition with its cel-shaded art style and its top-down perspective that harkens back to the original GTA. But that was what made it unique and stand out. It didn't try to be a scaled-down portable version of GTA, but its own unique thing. A prequel to Vice City Stories debuted in 2006 for PSP before coming to the PS2 the following year. Set in the year 1984, 2 years before Vice City, the game follows the story of Victor Vic Vance and his efforts to develop a criminal empire in Vice City. Stories definitely improved on some elements of the original Vice City, notably it infused more personality into the games. The long-awaited follow-up to GTA San Andreas, 2008's Grand Theft Auto 4, was beloved by many upon its release for the PS3 and Xbox 360. It ushered in a new, more realistic presentation of Liberty City, which was modeled after New York City.
It's Roman, let's go bowling.
Sorry about that. The size and scale of the world was stunning, giving players even more freedom to explore on a bigger... Hang on. Yeah, it's even annoying as a gag. Although, imagine if instead of getting spam calls from scammers, it was always Roman calling you to go bowling. Anyways, GTA 4 introduced cover-based mechanics, which later saw use in Red Dead Redemption and GTA 5. It also allowed you, as a player, to make choices that would affect the story. 4 also included a multiplayer mode, plus much beloved DLC in the Ballad of Gay Tony and The Lost and Damned.
4 minutes remain. The Mephisto village, you always get smart. Be ready for your blood to smear the walls and...
Here it is, the game that would break new ground and completely push Rockstar into the limelight. GTA 3 took the franchise into a fully 3D world for the first time, and it absolutely blew everyone's minds. While it wasn't the first open city style game, which I like to credit more so to Shenmue, GTA 3 allowed for an amount of freedom never before seen, making its city a fully realized sandbox you could play in. And to be honest, I think I spent most of my time playing with friends, seeing who could get the highest wanted level and avoid the cops for the longest period of time. GTA 3 included an astounding, for the time, variety of volume and activities to partake in. It had an excellent soundtrack I can't play in this video without getting demonetized, a fun original comedy channel called Chatterbox, and it marked the franchise's first foray into using Hollywood talent for voice roles. Now that GTA has existed for a while, it's hard to describe just how much of an impact GTA 3 had and how revolutionary it felt. And the great thing was, this wasn't a one-off, and Rockstar was actually able to improve on it for its subsequent games. I get that I ranked 4 below 3, but I'm also trying to take into account the insane amount of impact 3 had. And lest I forget, GTA 3 has the fine distinction, along with Doom, Mortal Kombat, and, Night Trap? Of being a game that also became politically controversial and a frequent reference point from parents as to the evils of violent video games. After playing GTA 3, I'd go bike to 31 Flavors and buy a mint chocolate chip milkshake. Released just a year after GTA 3, 2002's Vice City took players back in time to 1986. Its radio also introduced me to Flock of Seagulls, whose music I, for whatever reason, hadn't heard until then. The game's location was unsurprisingly Vice City, which was modeled after Miami and definitely the perfect 80s setting. This time around, its narrative included obvious nods to Scarface and the TV series Miami Vice. Gameplay-wise, Rockstar Games improved upon the open world, non-linear structure of GTA 3, expanding on features and systems in the earlier releases and introducing new abilities, items, and mechanics. And maybe it's just me, but I honestly prefer driving around Vice City and the overall aesthetics of it over Liberty City. Set in a massive open world based on Los Angeles, it's you. A fictionalized San Francisco and Las Vegas, the game puts you into the role of Carl C.J. Johnson. GTA San Andreas improved upon entries by doing away with loading screens between locations, introducing swimming to the mix, a system where you put on weight when you eat and then need to exercise to stay trim, and for offering what was, at the time, a gorgeous world to explore filled with all manner of activities. Grand Theft Auto 5, the pinnacle of the series from a design, storytelling, and technical perspective. Amazingly, GTA 5 was released almost a decade ago in 2013. Yes, we're that old now. And yes, it's been nearly 10 years since a GTA release. The game's narrative took a unique approach for the series by featuring 3 playable protagonists in Michael, Trevor, and Franklin, all of whom came from distinct backgrounds and offered their own unique perspectives and gameplay opportunities, keeping the experience fresh. The story even managed to tie together the characters in a satisfying way by the end. Yet again, set in a fictionalized version of Los Angeles, it's you, again. GTA 5 dropped players into an expansive world teeming with life and things to do, places to explore, and people to meet. The map was varied, meaning there were plenty of interesting areas to explore. On top of that, there's also GTA Online. And like it or hate it, it's still an optional part of GTA 5, meaning if you like it, it's up here with GTA 5. If you hate it, you don't have to play, and GTA 5 was still fantastic as the standalone single-player experience the games have traditionally been. And there you have the GTA games ranked. If you disagree with our list or hate my face, Let me know by instead commenting about how much we'd all love to see a GTA 6. And I'll see you guys next time. Hello?
Roman, let's go.